Hi. I grew up following the Bible as closely as I could. Because of that, I behaved in ways that I am not proud of. A couple of concepts really messed me up. One was that I thought my heart was evil, and another was that I thought I was to defer to everyone else, and particularly to men. When you believe you must esteem other people to be better than you are, and that you can't trust your own thinking or your own gut instincts, and further that you're to obey them that have the rule over you, that is a recipe for disaster. It was naturally difficult to make wise decisions in my life when I was told that I couldn't lean on my own understanding. Jeremiah the prophet said it wasn't in me to direct my own steps. And he declared that my heart was deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. So I had to wait on the Lord. But even if an answer came, how was I to know whether it was really from Yahweh or simply my own evil heart? Or worse, something Satan had whispered into my ear. I didn't understand boundaries. I didn't know when I was being used or abused or manipulated. I didn't trust my instincts or feelings. Sometimes I could be deeply insulted by someone, and it would be days before I realized it. Even then, I wasn't sure whether I had a right to be angry. Maybe I deserved it. And I feared that even every word I spoke, for which I would give an account on the day of judgment, might have far-reaching consequences. Because how great a matter a little fire kindleth. Therefore, being unsure whether to turn to the left or the right on my own, I was vulnerable to the wants and desires of others. And when that was coupled with my belief in the supremacy of the male of our species, there wasn't much hope for a normal life for me. For several years, I wore a head covering when I prayed, even silently in my home when I was alone. That was to show my submission to my husband. But I believed even single women were to do this, exhibiting deference to all men of the church and also the world. After all, the headship of man wasn't just because of the sin of Eve, because of the fact that she was deceived. It was also because Adam was first created. So it was universal and for all time. For most of my captivity in Christianity, I wouldn't speak in a Bible class if men were present. That would be usurping authority over men. Sometimes I wouldn't even teach a children's Bible class because that made me a teacher, and men were to be teachers. Plus, I was denying some man the privilege and the duty to teach little toddlers. There were times when I wouldn't even vote in a governmental election because I would be taking a vote from a man. Also, I would be involving myself in worldly matters, concerns of Caesar rather than Yahweh. I left all decisions to men, both in the church and in my home. I wouldn't even say where I wanted to go eat. I signed every credit card offer my husband presented to me, and then when the divorce came, I was bound to the debt. If my husband wanted to do something, he did it. I was afraid to even voice my opposition because that would have been sinful. Now, that doesn't mean we didn't argue. I am human. But I never questioned my husband's decisions about what he should do or what we should do as a family. Even if I thought that my way might be better. I mean, sometimes I don't think I even had an opinion. I mean, why have one if you're not going to speak it anyway? Not long before he died, my husband asked me if I had wanted to move to Michigan when we moved from our hometown in Pikeville, Kentucky, so he could be branch manager in the company he was working for. And then he said, after asking me that, he said, "You wouldn't have said if you didn't want to move." And he was right, I wouldn't have. I idolized men. but not just any men. They had to be intelligent or witty or self-assured. And because I love the Bible, if a man was capable of holding his own in a discussion of the Bible, and especially helping me to view the Bible in a different way or learn something new, I was hooked. I was infatuated. Unsurprisingly, I related to these men as a subordinate. I had an overwhelming need to please them and to be worthy of the wonderful wisdom they were dispensing. I suppose I was a groupie to men. I wrote a book once called Woman, the Glory of Man. One of the reviews said that I spoke as if a wife were a child. This is true, and that book is no longer for sale. But I still believe that what I wrote portrays what's in the Bible, at least in some passages. I once quit a job because I was going to be required to supervise a 20-year-old male student. I thought it would be sinful to have authority over this boy. I then took a job that paid only about 75% of what I'd been making. I was devoted to Jesus. And men were, to me, the next thing to Jesus. I was to obey them as the church was to obey Jesus. I thought because men rule over women in the body of Christ, that all men, particularly Christian men, were my superiors, and I should honor and respect them, which led to being unable to say no to them and also praising them inordinately. I cringe now when I remember some of the inane, dangerous, and harmful things I said and did, wounding others as well as myself. Now, sure, somewhere in me, I knew I was deranged and unbalanced, but I felt the same way when I spanked my children. I knew that left to my own devices, I would think hitting a child for hitting a child was lunacy. But I feared raising evil children if I didn't follow the Bible's directives. Surely God knew better than I did how to raise my beloved children. Now, I'm not seeking to excuse myself here. I am fully aware that I lived in a dystopian world, and worse, that I was happy there, or at least self-justified. But I have no need now to defend my insanity. Anyway, I'm not alone in this. Whole tribes of people have thought it was good and holy to murder babies and pregnant women, sparing the young maidens so the men could rape them. Whole tribes of people have thought it was good and holy to buy and sell human beings, consider them property, bequeath them to their children. Whole tribes of people have thought it was okay to stone to death a rebellious and stubborn son because he ate and drank too much. Actually, these people didn't think these behaviors were just okay or even just good. They thought they were required to please their God. Furthermore, there are people today who approve of this behavior simply because it's justified by the authors of a collection of books called the Bible. If people can be persuaded that murder, rape, and human trafficking are pleasing to their God, it's not really strange that I could be convinced that it was okay for me to fawn over men. I believed in their authority. I was completely deluded. But deluded or not, I'm deeply ashamed. I'm humiliated because of my stupidity. I prized intelligence and wit, and I was an idiot. My thinking was warped. I was a junkie for emotional domination by these high and holy masters of the universe, in the same way that I was a junkie for the domination of Jesus. So I am sufficiently mortified. But I'll tell you one thing I'm not, at least not any longer. I am not a person who condones murder, rape, and human trafficking, or male dominance over females. And to those who would say to me, Well, you were just ignorant of the true meaning of the Bible, or you just wanted attention. I would ask, do you believe the Israelites were right in the sight of your God to murder babies, to rape young girls, to buy and sell people and view them as property, bequeath them to their children? For crying out loud, you condemn abortion. So do you approve of these murders of living babies? If your answer is yes, then I mean no offense, but you really don't have the mental capacity to ascertain my state of mind, nor to know the difference between right and wrong. If you endorse these despicable behaviors, you're as deceived, hoodwinked, and duped as I once was. You are crazy. Your crazy may not be exactly like mine, but it's still crazy. I want to share a quote from Robert G. Ingersoll. He was speaking of the doctrine of hell when he wrote this, but I think it applies to the Bible as a whole. Ingersoll said, "It has covered the cheeks of this world with tears. It has polluted the hearts of children and poisoned the imaginations of men. It has been a constant pain, a perpetual terror to every good man and woman and child. It has filled the good with horror and with fear, but it has had no effect upon the infamous and base. It has wrung the hearts of the tender. It has furrowed the cheeks of the good." That is what the Bible does. The truth is, those with tender hearts who try the hardest to obey it probably end up being the craziest of all. A few years ago, I broke the shackles of ancient pagan and supernatural thinking. I found the true peace that passes understanding that is found only in truth, not in fantasies and fables and fairy tales and legends of talking snakes and donkeys and giants and witches and wizards and ghosts, holy or otherwise. And I am now free to direct my own path in a rational, moral, and healthy manner, as any sane adult should. I'm not healed, but I am healing. I'm learning to trust my own thoughts. And one of the things I think now is that it was the height of stupid thinking to think I couldn't trust my thinking. My own brain is all I have. And if there is a God who plans on judging me, I'd rather face that God having done the best I could with the brain it gave me. I am quite sure that my brain is a lot smarter than the brains that thought human beings were property that could be bequeathed to one's descendants. And I wouldn't want to be justified or rewarded by any God who disagreed with that. Thank you for watching. Bye.